Right, guys, what is happening? Let's get into this video right now. Zia Youssef from Reform UK exposes Sky News hosts. So we're going to get into this debate. This is probably surrounding the Henry Novak case. So don't forget to like and subscribe if you're a patriot and you love this country and you want to keep Britishness, Englishness, everything that we love about this country alive. If you want to keep it alive, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let's go.
Well, I'm joined now by Zia Youssef, Home Affairs spokesman for Reform UK. Zia, I know you're stuck in traffic because of the tube strike. You were hoping to join us on the sofa, so apologies about that, but thanks for being with us. Just first, the Novak family said yesterday outside the courtroom that they didn't want the murder of their son to be used to stoke division. Isn't that exactly what you're doing?
My heart goes out to him and to Henry's entire family. I can only imagine what they're going through. What Reform and Nigel are doing is quite the opposite of that, Kathy. What we're trying to do is advocate for an end to two-tier policing and for a Britain in which you're treated the same, regardless of what religion you are or what race you are. That is what we've been advocating for. Well, no, that is exactly what
it's not quite that simple, though, is it?
Because it's not called for people to go out and commit acts of violence. He just said that we should feel pure, cold rage. That's not Nigel, poking the fire and saying, right, let's go out and protest and cause violence and whatnot. The question is, should we feel pure, cold rage? It's probably what's been brewing deep down in many people for quite some time. Those that have been wanting to get jobs that can't get jobs because they're not a woman or because they're not someone of colour, they're a white, straight male. We know that DEI plays a role in many parts it plays a role everywhere in the UK. It's not just about being mistreated by the police. It's about, being accepted for a job, police force, fire service and all that.
Nigel Farage issued a statement on camera calling for people to respond with pure, cold rage. That's incitement, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Did you watch the body cam footage, Kathy?
I did watch the body cam footage and I also watched Nigel
what
Farage's
emotions
statement.
Did you feel? Kathy, what emotion did you feel having watched it?
I'm asking you whether that's incitement.
With respect, I'm asking you what emotion you felt having watched the body cam footage.
I'm conducting this interview, so I'm asking you.
Yeah, sorry for pausing it, but this is the thing. Like, are you going to tell me that you've watched the same videos what we've watched and you've not felt what Nigel Farage said? Is that what you're saying, Kathy?
Henry Novak,
if that is
his rights having been arrested, Kathy, Henry Novak's the last words Henry heard on this earth were his rights having been arrested by the police, bleeding to death. And my question to you, genuinely, it's a sincere question, human to human, Kathy.
Zia,
how did you feel watching that footage?
Zia, if you could let me ask my question, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And that is why the family said they wanted to turn that into something that would not create more division. I'm asking you if Nigel Farage suggesting to people that they feel cold, pure cold rage, is that inciting people to feel anger?
Well, Kathy,
people already
you
feel
have not answered
angry.
my question, which is what emotion did you feel having watched that body cam footage?
I'm interviewing you, so I would like you to ask that question. Is that incitement or not? It's simple.
Okay, well, I will tell you, having watched that footage myself, I was furious about it. I think millions of people in this country of all sorts of races and religions, based on the people who are speaking to me and sending me messages constantly, they were absolutely furious about it as well, because it was a crystal clear example of two-tier policing. And how on earth the police, upon attending the scene, took more seriously an accusation of racism than an accusation of having been stabbed. Paul Henry said repeatedly to the police, that I've been stabbed. And the police said, and this is burnt into my memory now, it's so horrifying, the police responded with, I quote, I don't think you have, mate. So the burden of proof was on Henry to prove that he had been stabbed, and yet there was no burden of proof on the murderer who had accused Henry of racism. And if that doesn't make you angry,
if I could just ask a question, because otherwise we're not. This is supposed to be a conversation. I'm not saying that I'm not angry. My heart is broken for the family, of course, and it is enraging. I understand that, but I'm asking about the fact that politicians are stoking this anger has consequences, doesn't it? There is a police officer who is in hiding because of death threats, mistaken he was mistaken as someone who was involved in this and he wasn't, and he's now in hiding. You know, do you condemn calls for some kind of vigilante justice against the police officers involved here?
No one's asking for that, though.
Sorry, who's calling for vigilante?
Yeah, no one's asking for that at all. So what you've just said there, it's just a load of rubbish.
Justice against officers.
There are death threats online circulating. There's misinformation circulating online. Do you condemn that? Do you sympathise with the police
obviously,
officer in hiding?
Of course, I would condemn that, and I take exception to this notion that connecting that with anything that Nigel said. But are you saying, Kathy, that it is inappropriate to take anger that people feel as a result of this tragedy for political purposes? Is that what you're putting to me?
I'm listening to what the family has said, and they said they don't want this terrible tragedy to be used to stoke division. And that is what we have. We have this huge political row now. We have Nigel Farage making claims that white lives matter, which is a slogan that was used by, the UK's largest white supremacist group.
I can't believe she just said that. Let's just carry on a minute.
You're happy with him using that phrase?
Okay, so what you're trying to tell me is that Cathy Newman is happy with the phrase Black Lives Matter coming from a black guy, but yet is not happy with the phrase White Lives Matter in a predominant white country in the UK. Anyone that's not willing to say that white lives matter, anyone that's not willing to take a knee for Henry, I'm guessing those people are the ones that would quickly do it for someone like George Floyd, a convicted criminal, a woman beater. Yes, what happened to him wasn't right, but the whole nation were ready to take a knee and to put that black square on the Facebook page. And they were willing to say Black Lives Matter. But in this situation where Henry, as Zia Youssef said, was killed in a horrific way and not helped by the police officers, contributing towards that factor, possibly, that she's not willing to say that white lives matter. I think it's absolutely insane. It's crazy. It's crazy that you can say white lives matter and that's seemed as like racism or, we're excluding every other race. Well, when Black Lives Matter were going about, the government, Keir Starmer, they were all bending down and taking a knee. The footballers, it's just a shame.
Kathy, what Nigel Farage said today was that white lives matter as much as black lives. Do you disagree with that statement?
You seem to be conducting an interview with me, but I'm trying to ask you
I'm asking
questions,
you whether you
if I
disagree
may,
with the statement
because
that
you're the
firstly,
politician.
I'm correcting, with respect, Kathy, I'm correcting you on this because to leave out the second half of the sentence, I think is deliberately misrepresentative and misleading. So Nigel said that white lives matter as much as black lives. And my question to you is, do you disagree with that statement?
And my question to you is about
Answer the
Nigel
question.
Farage's claims of anti-white.
You see, this is the thing. She can't answer the question because she's a champagne socialist. And the groups that she mixes in will chastise her and will condemn her for saying the phrase white lives matter.
Prejudice. I mean, there is overwhelming evidence, isn't there, of police racism over the decades against black minority ethnic people. You've got to go back to the Scarman report, the Macpherson report, the Casey review. There are decades of racism by the police against black minority ethnic people. Do you accept that that is a fact?
I'm kind of stunned that you couldn't bring yourself to say that you agree with the statement that white lives matter as much as black lives. I can't understand why you can't just confirm you agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Zia, you're the senior member of a party. You're a politician.
At this point, I would completely cut the interview unless you're willing to say that white lives matter. Let's all put up that white square. I hope that goes about. I hope we all put up a white square. It just frustrates me. So like and subscribe if you're watching this, guys, if you can watch it.
My job is to hold you to account, so I'm asking you these questions.
That.
And I would love you to answer that question about racism against black and minority ethnic people by the police. There are a lot of people who are angry because they see every day, the stop and search data. They see that. They see the deaths of black people in police custody.
Okay, so this is mutual, this line here. Let's say that many years ago, that it was leaning to that side where the police officers did mistreat people of colour. Let's say that is true. I don't know if it is. I'd like to fact check it. Because they will bring out cases where black men died in police custody and stuff like that. But they never bring out the cases of where white men died in police custody. Is Cathy Newman going to say that there is no white people amongst those years that she was just saying about the so-and-so report? Are you trying to say that white men didn't die in police custody at all those many years? Are you trying to tell me that it were only black men that were mistreated by the police all those years? It's just not true. Like, we know that, like, white men have been mistreated by the police many, many times in the past. Many, many times. And so, for it to sort of, like, mech out like it's only black people that have been mistreated by the police is just not true at all. But let's say it were that way. And then we managed to bring it back to the middle where it was fair and it was equal. Instead of keeping it in the middle, they've gone way over that way, and gone to the other side where now they, a lot of officers will take people of colour, will take their crime, race crime, whatever, more serious. Sorry guys, I'm only a construction worker. I'm not that smart. I'm just a dad that works, that I need to vent out online and get my frustration out. But do you see what I'm saying? They've overcorrected it. They've overcorrected it, and so now it's been reversed instead of bringing it back to fairness and equality.
And they're saying, where is your anger about that?
Well, again, I don't understand why you can't bring yourself to confirm that you agree with the statement that white lives matter as much as black lives. Clearly, it is unacceptable for anyone to be discriminated against based on immutable characteristics by the police or anybody else. But, Cathy, you've been conducting this interview on a premise that it is wholly inappropriate to watch that body cam footage and be furious. It is wholly inappropriate to conclude from watching that body cam footage that there should be some political ramifications for this. When in 2021, Cathy, you wrote op-ed after op-ed, article after article in newspapers like The Independent about George Floyd. In fact, and let me quote you your own words. You said that you expressed delight that the BLM hashtag transported, and this is a direct quote from you, Cathy, transported the rage of George Floyd's death across the four corners of the globe.
You see, they're all hypocrites, a lot of them.
I've said
the point
to
that we
you,
are making,
Zia, I've said to you, I understand people are angry.
A totally different reaction, Cathy. Not just from you. I'm only putting that to you because I'm speaking to you now. But I'm afraid this has been endemic across most of the media landscape in this country and the institutions in this country. And the reality is this. Because Henry was a white man,
you seem to be interviewing me,
unwilling to accept that this sort of thing exists.
Zia, I can see you're on broadcast mode, but if you'd listened to my monologue at the start of this show, I know you were on a rival show, so that was impossible for you. But I reflected on the public anger and the anger that people feel. But I also reflected on the concerns that MPs have, including the constituency MP of Henry Novak, who is worried about that anger being stoked by politicians for their own ends, for political ends. I'm asking you about that. I'm reflecting on that. But I would also like to ask you about racism in the police, which we've just talked about. I mean, I wonder whether you think 92% of police officers in England and Wales are white. Do you think that...
Why is she saying a stat like that, like it's such a bad thing in a predominant white country? It's just ridiculous. 92% of the police force are white. Well, no shit, Sherlock. We live in England. They're going to be.
Are going to be guilty of systematic prejudice against white people. Do you think that's likely?
Not only is it likely, it's demonstrable. You can go to Hampshire Police's website as we speak. You can read their, quote, race action plan that, by the way, was brought into being under a Tory government. And what that does is make crystal clear that the police must prioritize accusations of racism. And this is why it's actually really
That's
important, Kathy,
crazy.
because you're
I
talking
wonder if they prioritise accusations of racism coming from a white person. I was once at school, and my mate said, "Oh, he can't so and so. He's black." Only joking. It's one of my best friends, and she was like, "What did you just say?" And I said, "It's only joking. We mess around all the time." And she said, "No, I've got to take this serious." And I said, "All right, well, I'll say on the other foot, he can't do that because he's white." And she completely ignored my statement, and he got excluded because of his statement. I said the exact same, nothing. So, it's just so one-sided.
politicization of this. The reality is that the only way we are going to prevent systematic racism against any race or any religion inside the police is through political action. I'm sure you agree with that because you've expended considerable amounts of your own energy in pursuit of that. But it only seems to be in one direction.
Zia, this is a bit like this interview, but the police action plan was brought in to address decades of racism against black and minority ethnic people by the police. So that was why it was to correct an imbalance there that had lasted for decades. Do you accept that was necessary?
Legislation and initiatives like that must be judged on the impact that they have and the outcomes that they create, not the intentions of those that created them. I'm not impugning the intentions of the people who created all of that. But what is crystal clear is that what we saw in that harrowing, distressing, and tragic body cam footage is directly downstream. And anyone watching this, whether you agree with the reform or not, I encourage you to go and read the race action plan on Hampshire Police's website. Go and read that in full. It's not a particularly long page, but there's a lot there. And what it makes crystal clear is that the reaction of the police, the fact that that footage proves that the burden of proof for a man making an accusation of racism was zero. Henry was arrested pretty much immediately, even as he was bleeding to death. Yet the burden of proof for Henry in saying repeatedly that I've been stabbed was such that the police responded as he bled to death by handcuffing him and saying, I don't think you have, mate. And Kathy, I put it to you as human to human, if you can't see that as evidence of anti-white discrimination in the conduct of those attending officers, then I'm afraid we cannot be watching the same footage.
We've discussed that at length, and I wondered, given your concern about, understandable concern about the body cam footage, whether you've been in touch with the family, whether Nigel Farage has been in touch with the family and asked them whether this is what they wanted, this debate.
I haven't been, and I'm not going to comment on Nigel's confidential and private conversations. I don't think that is appropriate, but my convictions around this issue and Nigel's convictions around this issue are around ensuring that we have one law for everybody. And, you put to me earlier, am I concerned about discrimination against ethnic minorities? But to the degree that is happening, of course I'm concerned by it, Kathy. But we are making an argument based on the footage. It is an 18-year-old student who happens to be white who has just been murdered and was... The last words he heard on this earth were his rights being read to him by British police officers who did not believe him when he told them that they had been stabbed. And I'm afraid,
many times. I very much appreciate you being with us tonight. It's a shame you couldn't be on the sofa, but thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, so there we have it. Zia Yusuf has just completely destroyed Cathy Newman on the Cathy Newman Show. Let me know what you guys think about this. Listen, if you can, just like and subscribe to the channel if you're a patriot and you love this country and you want to fight for it in the right way. Give me a like if you've watched a short, if you've watched this video, a long form video. Just give me a like and a subscribe so we can get the news out, so that we can keep fighting for this country. If you're a British patriot, if you love England, give it a like, give it a subscribe, and thanks for watching.